good morning, my friends. Stroll pal Jordan the Lion. I don't feel any better, but John needs to play, so let's do it. Daze with Jordan the Lion. Whoa, begins now. And we're going up to this park today because I'm actually going to do the vlog in this area on our way back down. Well, hello Lionhearts. Yeah, if yesterday I felt about 25% healthy, today I feel about 60, so I feel a little bit better. I'm hoping if I pump myself full of the meds today that I'll feel great tomorrow, because I'm actually supposed to take off on a road trip in the morning with Breck. We're gonna do a couple of days in an undisclosed location that you will find out when the videos get posted. But yeah, I don't want to take off and go do them when I feel like garbage, but feeling a little bit better today. And we have to give this guy a chance to go play. So what I want to do for the vlog today is I'm going to take you by the house that Peter Tork of the Monkees owned when while he was a monkey. Now Peter Tork is one of the most talented members of that generation, but you wouldn't know it because, as they said, he was kind of the Ringo of the Monkees, the one that nobody really knew that much about and just assumed he was kind of dull and boring, but that was really his character. So I'm going to take you over to the house that he bought when he was in the Monkees and tell you a little bit of the story of what he was doing in the Monkees, who he lived with when he was there in that house, where he moved to, just the whole story of Peter Tork, because unfortunately a few days ago he passed away. And I figured, you know, like I said, he's the one member of the Monkees that people seem to know the least about. So let's honor him today. Peter Thorkelson, this is your vlog. Well, he's happy and skipping around and everything, but there's not one dog here. And I don't understand why, because the last time we came out here, it was all muddy and ugly looking, and there were tons of dogs out here. And then we come out here today, the ground's all dry, and it's one solo dog. What the heck? Why are there 6 helicopters out here? 7, 8, 9. I'm putting on my tinfoil hat right now. Hey Ja, what were all those helicopters doing? Do you want to chase the ball? Hey Ja. Ja, do you want to chase the ball? Let's see. I'm betting no. I would have lost that bet. Well, he did give up halfway. That's my boy. This dog and Ja have been staring at each other for, no joke, 2 or 3 minutes without Ja moving. They just keep watching each other, and this dog down here just keeps taking a few steps every few seconds. What a wacko. What are you doing down there? Huh? What are you doing? I always wondered why he did that, and then somebody told me one of the last times I was here that dogs do that to roll around in like the predator scent. That's what they said. So you're probably rolling around in coyote pee. Well, I think we're gonna roll out of here. Let's go to Peter Tork's old house. So Peter Tork was the bass player / keyboard player of the Monkees, a fictitious band that was put together to be the American answer to the Beatles. They placed an ad in the newspaper looking for Ben Frank types, which was a restaurant here. It was like the people that would hang out there were the people they wanted for this. They held open auditions, found most of the members through there, but not Peter Tork. Peter Tork was an exception. You see, Peter Tork became a monkey because of Stephen Stills. of Crosby, Stills, Nash, and sometimes Young. Buffalo Springfield also. How that happened was Stephen Stills actually went in and auditioned to be a Monkee. When they saw him, they liked him, they loved his style and everything, but they just said, you kind of look too old. He had a receding hairline and they just didn't think it would work, and he didn't necessarily want to be a Monkee. So they said, do you happen to have a friend or know anyone that looks like you? He was friends with Peter Tork from Greenwich Village, New York, recommended Peter Tork, and Peter became one of the Monkees. Now Peter and Stephen were really, really close, and so once Peter started making money off of the Monkees, they got this house that I'm going to show you together and lived here for a couple of years. Now the Monkees were an interesting band because the opposite side to what the Beatles were doing was the Monkees were not allowed to write their own music and they were not allowed to perform it on the records. Peter was the exception. He actually did, for the first 2 albums they weren't allowed, none of the members were allowed to participate in the recordings or anything, but Peter actually got to play guitar on one song, and then in the second season of the TV show, he got to co-write the ending song for Pete's Sake. So this was the house that Peter Tork purchased when he was a Monkee. When he first became a Monkee, had a little bit of money, and he and Stephen Stills lived here together. Now the Monkees had a vigorous schedule during that time. Not only were they making the TV show and making albums, in just 2 or 3 short years they had put out like 6 or 7 albums. They were touring everywhere, even having Jimi Hendrix as their opener, if you can believe that. And by the time it got to 1968 and they were doing the movie that they had put together, Head, with Jack Nicholson, Peter was just burnt out, and even though they were getting a little bit more concessions from the producers and the label to be able to participate in some of the songwriting a little bit more and performance, as far as the guys went, Mickey, Peter, Mike, and Davey, they just musically were not in sync. They just didn't have enough in common. Now if you notice, I'm gonna walk up to the front door. Normally I wouldn't because that's trespassing. I'm walking across their walkway, but they actually have a sign that says the Monkees house, and so I want to show it. And I figure if I actually used to deliver to this house about 10 or 15 years ago when I was doing a fitness food delivery service that I worked for, and that plaque was not always there. So whoever in the most recent years has put that there, and they want it to be known as the Monkees house. I'm super glad they did this though. 1967. And he moved out of here in 1968. So in 1968, pretty much everything in Peter Tork's life took a change, and I would almost say for the worse. He just decided he wanted to go off and do his own thing. So in 1968, when they were finishing up Head, he bought out his contract, the remaining years in his contract of being a Monkee, and decided to move out of this house, got a new house. He and Stephen Stills both moved over to that house over on Shady Oak. I'll take us over there in a little bit. Peter formed a new band. They got close. He was recording songs, and a couple of songs were supposed to be in movies, a couple of songs were supposed to be recorded by other people. There were a lot of things that were supposed to happen that just kept falling through the cracks, and unfortunately by 1970 Peter was pretty much out of money and had to sell his house. It's cool to just look at this place and to know how many times he would have rehearsed all those Monkee songs or been humming them in his head here. Daydream Believer, Valerie, Take a Giant Step. It's so cool. And the reason that he moved out of here was it just wasn't big enough. He wanted a bigger place, so I'm gonna take us over to the bigger place that he purchased. Kind of an odd location right here on a big winding curve. Wow, what a neighborhood, huh? Now, one of the main reasons that Peter Tork decided to move, like I said, was because he thought the house wasn't big enough. And it wasn't just because of musical reasons. He was having a lot of parties over there. It was kind of like the Frank Zappa house, where there was just like everybody knew to go there and they could party all night. And so Peter moved, hoping that this bigger place would also kind of stop the parties, and the parties just followed over and continued on here from 1968, 1969. Now, what's cool about what we're gonna see is, unfortunately, it looks like the house, the original house, is gone and been demolished, but on this property, at this address, this is exactly where Crosby, Stills, and Nash would rehearse getting ready for Woodstock. And in 1968 and 1969, the Rolling Stones would also stay here while they were in town rehearsing for an upcoming tour. Well, I was mistaken. The house is still here. I'll show you a picture right here matching up where the band is out here practicing in this driveway. But everybody from the Hollies, the Who, John Sebastian, all those people would have come and hung out here. Peter Tork's second house. It's up a crazy long driveway. So sadly, in 1970, Peter Tork just decided, being low on money and not wanting the party environment anymore, he sold that house to Stephen Stills. After Peter and his girlfriend moved out of the house, he decided to move up north, and he joined a singing chorus for a while. He also joined a blues band, and then a few years later made his way back down to Los Angeles in the mid-70s and got a job as a teacher. He was actually teaching various subjects and at high school in Santa Monica, of all places, and was a baseball coach. He did that for a few years and then reconnected with Mickey and Davey, and from then on periodically would put out music. Now, Peter Tork also was an actor, because I used to see him when I was a kid. He was in Boy Meets World as Topanga's father. Oh, and I did forget to mention, before he moved up north, when he moved out of this house, he actually moved into the basement of David Crosby's house. And I'm so happy to see that house is not gone. I thought I read online that they had demolished it, but that matches up perfectly. It's exactly the same. Peter Tork was raised in Connecticut, and for the most part lived in Connecticut the rest of his life after this time period. Even died there. Now I have a little bit of mail to ship out. Alright, those are all shipped out, and I replaced all my John Lennon stamps. Peter Tork was supposed to be the Monkees' answer to Ringo, kind of the dumb or simpleton of the group, but that was actually just a character that he created going all the way back to when he was in Greenwich Village. And one of the cool things that I found out was that his grandmother was such a big fan of what he was doing that she not only ran his fan club when he was in the Monkees, but she also personally responded to people. Unfortunately, in 2009, Peter Tork, they found out, had cancer spreading from his neck up, and he went through treatments and seemed to be in remission, and then in 2018 the cancer came back, and that's what eventually ended up killing him last week in 2019 at the age of 77. Well, my friends, we're gonna call it a night. I need to get some rest. Thank you, Steve Kokel, Phoenix Nimitz, Dean Hall, and Nancy Hopple for making contributions to my channel. Thank you all for watching. We'll see you all tomorrow, and hopefully everything will go off as planned and we will still take off on our road trip. Have a great night. We'll see you all then. Goodbye.